Crikey, this tank's quite an impressive setup, isn't it? What have we got here then?
This is Amanda's tank.
Okay,
Yeah.
not yours.
Well, I've been told it's Amanda's tank, and it is guppies it's a guppy tank. These are guppies that have come all the way from Scotland.
Okay.
From a.
Is that why they're wearing little kilts?
Yeah, do you know what? I hadn't noticed that before. These come from Andrew Frew, who is an aquatics fanatic up in Scotland, and I got to know him through Koi, and he bought Koi from us, so he's a customer from that perspective. But I remember meeting him, and he also took in conversation. He also talked about being a guppy judge. So when we were setting up guppy tanks, and we have this, and we have several others around the house for a breeding program, I obviously had to get guppies from a great source, and he's a guppy judge and guppy breeder, and he breeds this particular variety.
Should we pause for a moment and just say this isn't a career aspiration, or is this just a hobby? What's happening here?
It is me seeing what the interest levels amongst our children are for breeding fish.
Okay.
And it's also about testing out some line breeding approaches,
Nice.
which I can
So it's a sort of soft launch of getting your kids into the koi business, or?
Absolutely, because people will know and have seen that when we go to the koi shows, there's the whole family. And in actual fact, the whole family work here at the farm on busy packing days, at the koi shows, events, and so forth. So everybody's involved harvesting the ponds and so forth. But I wanted to see, okay, in addition to that, okay, is there an interest in breeding fish? And one of the easiest fish to breed is guppies. And in actual fact, guppies have come a long way over the last few decades, and there are different strains and so forth. And when I started looking into it, it was actually quite interesting. The line breeding processes that you can apply with guppies, and every time you do a generation with guppies, it's just 3 months. Just 3 months, whereas with koi it's several years. And so far, our modus operandi with Byer Koi Farm with koi is to just be breeding from koi that we've imported from Japan, and we absolutely do that. But certainly with our Deutsche Chibas, with the very unique pattern type, which is both top to bottom and bottom up, so you get this great pattern from the side. That's something that we do that is not typical on what you might expect on an Achiba or Deutsche Chiba. Okay, so the last few years, actually, I've been breeding from certain parent sets to create potential breeders from those, which might carry that pattern style forward in parallel.
Okay, so this is like a microcosm of what you're trying to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But on a faster timescale, because I guess we're looking at them, they must breed much quicker than the koi do.
And this is one of our display tanks, and
Okay.
we've got special pairs in other smaller tanks, which where we're carrying out our line breeding project.
Okay.
And out of the 3 kids, we've got like a reasonable amount of interest. So
Nice.
I'm very happy about that.
It's pretty cool setup, and it's not just guppies in here, though, is it? I've noticed there's some bristlenose catfish. In fact, quite a few bristlenose catfish on there.
Yes.
What's
So
the story there?
over the last few years, we've been redeveloping how we go about breeding koi and rearing the fry. We've root and branch re-engineered our process so that we are more efficient, and that's been really critical for Amanda and I to run the business profitably, particularly over the last few years where we've all had all these pressures. So one of the things that we've tried out is to use bristlenose plex as tank cleaners within some of our hatchery fry setups.
Okay.
Yeah, which has been successful. So they come in over the winter, and then they
Oh,
get.
so they're on a sort of winter sabbatical, are they?
Yeah. We have many bristlenose plex throughout our aquariums at the moment. They are very useful, and this is their winter home. They will be going into production or into our production facilities soon. Though we're talking now in the middle of January. The days are getting longer, thank goodness, which is a sign not only for the fish but for Amanda and I that we are going to be getting into breeding season, which I'm extremely excited about.
I think we've probably all had enough of the winter already. I mean, I know my pond's, although it's heated, it's still pretty cold compared to the summer. So it's always quite exciting when things start warming up again. So hopefully, give it a month or 2 more, we'll start seeing fairer weather. How was your Christmas anyway?
Christmas, we've had a brilliant launch.
But did you get a break? That's the real question.
We got a bit of a break.
Yeah.
I took half of Christmas Day off, and Amanda took the whole of Christmas Day off, and we've had more flexibility certainly over the Christmas period. It's the time of the year when we have the most fish to look after in our recirculation facilities, which is when they need the most care, most husbandry care from Amanda and myself to ensure that everything's within the tram line, so to speak. So there is absolutely that. And also we're carrying a big chunk of our next year's turnover in those systems. Okay. So it's really critical that we are on it.
We're going to say, I saw some great sort of photos of some of Nisai and other releases that you sort of managed to get time to release over the Christmas period. Some great fish amongst that.
I love releasing on Nisai and Sansai this year. We had some really fantastic Sansai Makashiogons from our opaline female.
Oh, wow, nice.
And from our Asagi also. Plus Benikikakiryu, Oakley Chargoi, some other Deutsch metallics. And yeah, that's just brilliant when we bred the fish to put them in front of our customers, and we had back-to-back visits across our 2 sales days.
Wow, amazing.
Seeing many customers, and for us that's an enjoyable event. Combined with the Japanese autumn harvest koi that I'd selected in the autumn that finished quarantine, and they were all in our sales facility, so there's just so much choice. Yeah.
People come and view them and check them out then.
That's it, yeah.
Nice. And you got some travel coming up soon, I believe, next month, right?
Just a few weeks' time. I'm so excited about this. Flying out to Japan, I've got a 1 week buying trip, going back to see the breeders that I saw last time.
And you're also going to be purchasing fish that you will then sell as well alongside your the fish that you breed as well, right?
That's it. It was great for us last year. We maxed out our facilities. We're overproducing for our facilities, but our customer base is growing. People are attracted to Byer Koi Farm, and that's just brilliant. Recognizing or appreciating the hard work that we put in and the way we go about our business and the way we work with our customers.
Yeah.
So more customers means I need more fish, but our facilities are maxed out. We are looking at various ways to expand, but in the meanwhile, we'll be buying in from Japan, from the breeders that I know, trust, in varieties that we haven't bred, and then that provides the widest possible range for our customers.
And interestingly, you ran a survey quite recently to kind of get kind of viewers' feedback on kind of the varieties they were looking for, with a view of potentially kind of poaching some of those, as well as obviously the fish you breed. So we thought we'd share sort of some of the top results from that list with the viewers here. So I think it was quite exciting for me personally, because I can see some varieties in this sort of top 5, which we'll share with you, that sort of varieties are quite close to my heart as well in terms of favourites. So I think at the top of the list was probably no surprise really with the shower. I think of the Ghost Yankee varieties, I think the shower is probably my own favourite. I think that's just that sort of combination of heavy black, and particularly on some of the specimens, is such a great look. And also I saw Deutsch shower was also in that top 5 as well, so it was interesting to see that. Kahaku obviously, no brainer really. And then of the sort of less kind of standard varieties, I guess, that sort of cropped up in that top 5, we also had Kashiki, Deutsche Chiba, and Kikazuri. So talking through your thoughts on that top 5.
So brilliant to see Kahaku come up, of course, because that's my favourite variety. But also we've made that huge investment with Dainishi buying in 5 really spectacular Nisai, 4 of them being Kahakus from 4 different lines, to start up 4 new breeding lines from ourselves, repurposing the existing male fish that are just fantastic, and then bringing Dainishi on the female side. So that's brilliant. And that's going to be one we'll put them to good use this year on that side of things. The Kikasuri and Deutsche Chiba, we've had huge spawnings in 2024, some of our most successful ever, I would say, particularly on those 2 varieties.
And I have to say, your Deutsche Chiba, I mean, there's some amazing individual kind of specimens amongst that. In fact, I've got 1 or 2 in my pond, so...
Thank you. And there's some there that may be the best we've ever produced. And we have also the Kagani, the metallic Deutsche Chibas, which will give another...
It's newer for you, isn't it, the Kagani ones?
The first spawning, the fish that we bred those from, we've had here in our females tank for some years. It's taken a bit of time to get them up to maturity.
I think I've seen the parent fish in some of your tanks for a few years, as you say.
Kaze being one of the masters at that, and we've put our own little twist on it and produced what we've got. So very excited to present those in the spring at Tosai and in the autumn at Nisai. And then the Showa, we didn't spawn Showa last year. We are down on our Showa parent fish. Our old lines are no longer, the females are no longer with us. We have our large Mamatera female, but she decided not to spawn last year. So we've got a few things going for that this year. Number one, a year ago, we bought 3 Sekiguchi Nisai, and they are egging up really nicely, and they'll be put to good use this year to start a new line there. We've got the new spectacular Dainishi Showa female Nisai that we also picked up this autumn. And even though she's Nisai, she's huge and has eggs, so fingers crossed on that. There's the Momoterra female that I really need to, I'm hoping it'll be every other year with her now.
So hopefully a good Showa spawning this year.
Yeah, we're certainly trying, but also from Japan, we have a huge range of Showas from Marudo.
Yeah.
Also from Kaze. And these are being selected by us in the Japanese autumn harvest. When I go out in a few weeks, those breeders won't have any of this sort of stock. So I've selected them while the stock was available, so that our customers have the choice to those fish to choose from this year.
And what about Goshiki? What's happening there then?
Goshiki, we've had 2 good spawnings, modest sizes, but sufficient to be able to offer some selection at Tosai and Nisai from our own Goshiki breedings in 2025. And because of the popularity, the continued popularity in the surveys we've had over the last few years, and that we now have at least one pairing that I would say is optimized based on what I'm seeing at Tosai. The Benny staying very clean in lots of examples. So that's, and very good quality, very, very good.
Well, I've seen some of the ones you're keeping on as Tatikoi. I mean, impressive looking fish and some great patterns, so it's a promise there, I guess.
Yeah, and so I'm going to be doing a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to be buying in more broodstock to bolster the combination that I put together last year. On that, so that we can breed more. And then I need to make a decision before I go as to whether we buy any larger Nisai Sansais, because I won't have those from our own breedings for another 6 to 9 months. So we may do that. Watch this space.
Interesting. So, what's your favourite variety? Is it one of those top 5, or is it something not on that list?
Well, I love the Kahaku.
Okay.
They're my favourite variety. That's what we started breeding, and I was just thrilled to be able to secure the 4 really high quality Kahaku from the Dainishi, one of the Dainishi auctions in the autumn. One of those Nisai Kahaku being the top rated Kahaku in that auction. So we've invested heavily.
Yeah. There
are no guarantees at all, which is why I bought 4. They may not spawn. We have had that before, unfortunately, but. And even if they do spawn, there's all the risks around that, which I've talked about in other places. Maybe we'll cover that in another question sometime. But across 4, got my fingers crossed that at least 1, hopefully more than 1. So, but if I had my time, that's all I'd be breeding and that's all we'd be selling. However, our customers want a wider range. And with the responses we've got, those 5 that you pointed out, and all of the others we've got at medium interest level or at low level interest level, I actually love breeding them. And also selecting nice examples with the potential from the breeders that I'm getting to know in Japan.
Yeah, I mean it's always fascinating to see how many of these kind of varieties kind of develop as they grow from fry to Tosai to Nisai. I mean, it's always been something I've enjoyed doing. So great to see what you produced this year. So we're only going to cover one question this month, but it's a good question and I think it's worth sort of answering in a little bit of detail. So the question is, when is a good time to introduce koi to your pond? And I guess this is based on the assumption that it's a UK pond, unheated, so ambient temperature. So what are your thoughts, Adam?
Great question, and often asked. Okay, so I'm going to just run through the 4 seasons.
Okay.
because in actual fact there are pros and cons in all 4 seasons, and it is possible to add koi to your pond in all 4 seasons.
Okay, interesting.
But certainly some seasons stand above the others as the preferential times.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with spring. This is the time when we ourselves are getting excited about the longer days and
Coming
the
out of hibernation, right?
more greenery, the odd flower maybe blooming, and a bit of sun, potentially. And key thing, a little bit of warmer temperatures. The koi too will be seeing these things.
Mm-hmm.
And as the water temperature comes up through the spring, which it will do, it will get to 12 degrees Celsius, and at that temperature the koi's immune system is starting to turn on, starting to become a lot more effective at 12 degrees and above. Now, this is a good thing, okay? So this is a positive for that season in terms of adding a new fish in. But equally in the spring, we often have big fluctuations in the weather. So particularly the temperature. You could have a snowy week, icy week, and the following week it could be like the middle of summer.
Yeah, that's true.
Huge temperature fluctuations to the pond, and one of the koi are very resilient. They can survive and do all right actually in quite a wide range of water types and temperature types. But the one thing that one of their Achilles heel, if you like, is they become stressed in times of change.
Okay.
And with stress comes additional risk of parasites. So in the spring, we have that. Now, that is irrespective of whether you put in a new koi into your pond or not, but it's a period of change, and that's something that we have to take account of. So in a way, it's a good time to add a new koi because we're not changing the status of that season. It's a season of change. Adding a new koi into your pond or kois into your pond is also shuffling the pack, and that is change.
Okay. So it brings risk.
It adds a bit more risk to the change, but spring is a period of change anyway. We are not changing the nature of spring for koi. So I think that's spring's best, if you like, advantages for adding new koi into the pond. We've got a season of change. We're having a little bit more change. It's still a season of change, which we know we need to deal with.
Okay, and then as you move into summer?
In summer, this is a koi's prime time. So this is when the temperatures are at their most stable, the weather is warmest, the koi's immune system is at its most effective, and the filter is also most able to deal with any changes to the bioload, because at the warmer temperatures, the bacteria are able to expand more readily, given the right sufficient space on filter media and so forth. And so this is a time when, if you like, it's the least risky time to add a new koi in, because if anything, when you add a new koi, you're shuffling the pack. So there are risks of, let's say, there are risks from that, whether they be parasite risks, either parasites that are already in the pond that the existing population are living in balance with, or from the new koi coming in. There are always risks with that. And so in a way, it's the least risky time, because it's the time when we are, as a koi keeper, can deal with any of those sort of things most easily. However, we are interrupting the koi's prime time in that season. That's the time when they're going to grow the most and put on the most condition.
So I guess what you're saying is, if you don't want to interrupt the flow and the kind of growth rates of the existing fish in the pond, then spring would be a better time to introduce new fish, but otherwise summer's still an acceptable sort of time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then as you move into autumn?
In the autumn, we have the reverse process of the spring, so the temperatures are starting to drop, which means that at some point through the autumn, and exactly where that point is in the autumn depends on the year, but at some point the water temperatures are going to drop below 12 degrees Celsius.
Okay. So then their natural immunity starts to go dormant, right?
It sort of turns off at around 12 degrees Celsius. And so, but we're outside of the koi's prime time. So this is a season of change again. And as a result, it is a season when you can introduce new koi. But I think doing so, we just need to recognise the risks of shuffling the pack, the risks of adding additional bioload to the filter. And my advice is to have at least, if you're going to add fish in this season, to do it at least 4 weeks before the pond drops below 12 degrees Celsius, to give yourself the best chance of dealing with anything that pops
Okay,
up.
so if anything crops up, then you've got time to treat the pond and also just manage the kind of after effects, if any.
Absolutely. 1 to 2 weeks to after the new koi go in to pick up on any parasites that make a break for it, to be monitoring your water quality and to be able to do rectification work if necessary. And then if there is any treatments required, then you've got 2 weeks, and that should cover off.
Okay.
That gives you plenty of time.
Then as you move into winter, I guess it's probably is that the riskiest month? What's your thoughts there?
There are additional risks in the winter, and there are some benefits in the winter too.
Okay.
Let's start with the benefits. So, koi are cold-blooded, and in the colder temperatures of a UK winter, they will be at their least active. Being at the least active, they are the easiest. It's the easiest time of the year to handle the fish.
Okay. I know they're certainly easy to catch. I mean, my fish at the moment are much easier to catch than in the height of the summer when they are just going crazy.
This is it, and the same goes for transporting. So there's less risk of damaging the fish, for example, which is a really big positive. A much less risk compared to moving fish in the summer. We're comfortable moving fish in any season. I have to say,
Sure.
we're just comparing season to season.
It's the risk management, right? You're referring to.
It all comes down to that.
Yeah.
So that's the positive about the winter. Okay, I think on the things we have to consider a bit more, the negatives, if you like, is at the colder temperatures, the filter bacteria are not going to have much of a chance to adjust for a change in bioload. So a big change in bioload is going to be tricky for them to deal with. So there's that. And I think also temperature shock. So if the temperature between the source pond and the destination pond are very closely aligned, then the temperature shock isn't such a big deal. I think in the winter, the fish are less able to tolerate as well a wider temperature difference between source pond
and what do you
pond.
consider to be, the risk margin in terms of temperature differential? What would be acceptable difference between source pond and destination pond in terms of temperature change?
3 degrees Celsius in the winter. I think any other time of the year, 6 degrees Celsius. Even in the winter, in an emergency situation,
Sure.
You could move fish with a 6 degrees Celsius differential or even greater. But to avoid stress, you need to be within 3 degrees.
But ideally the same temperature.
Absolutely. Whereas let's say in the summer, let's contrast it with the exact opposite season.
Yeah.
Winter contrast with summer. In summer, 3 degrees, the koi probably won't even notice it.
Sure.
And 6 degrees is very doable because everything's turned on in terms of the koi. Their immune system is operating at its best.
Yeah.
They're most able to deal with those sorts of changes.
In summary, I guess you're sort of suggesting spring is still going to be the best season of all to sort of bring fish in, but with the right sort of management, risk and monitoring, you could potentially sort of do it in any season.
Yeah, absolutely. You could. It's okay to bring koi into your pond in any of the seasons.
Yeah.
Managing the risks that we've run through by going through each of the seasons in turn. If I was to rank them, I think the easiest time, best time would be spring.
Yeah.
I think the next best time would be autumn.
Okay.
Followed by summer, and then followed by winter. But I think over the winter, one has to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah.
And certainly buying koi from us over the winter, we often have sales events over the winter.
You do,
yeah. And but we offer overwintering, which is free service.
Okay. That's pretty handy.
So customers can have the fun of picking and make sure they get the fish that we've selected without the worry of dealing with the most risky time. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you. That was a very comprehensive answer. So I guess the next time we meet, you'll be back from Japan. So I guess you'll have a lot to share then. I'm so looking forward to that trip, going out to see the breeders and finding some great koi for the sales room, and also topping up on brood fish, particularly on goshki, I'm hoping. Lots to look forward to, and there'll be lots of updates on social media. Okay, so make sure you're kind of following on social media, so Instagram, Facebook. You've got a newsletter as well, so if people aren't signed up to that, then they should go to your website to sign up to that, because I think probably the most detailed information comes through on that. But definitely keep people posted, right? We will.